Welcome back everybody, it's your favorite pal Nathurow with another video. And this time I've got Brexit Briefly by CGP Grey. Now I have seen his video on Bizarre Borders, I thought it was very interesting. And he has several videos on Brexit, I think there are 3 in total. And this first one being pretty old, it's back from 2016. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at them. Just in case any of you don't know, Brexit is about Great Britain, even though it's really the entire United Kingdom, leaving the European Union. And the word Brexit is the combination of Britain and the word exit combined to Brexit. I certainly don't know all the politics and facts behind Brexit, so yeah, this should be very interesting. Let's get started.
Brexit, the British exit from the European Union. It's a thing that's happening. Or maybe not. Or maybe the United Kingdom is falling apart. There's a lot going on, so let's talk about Brexit briefly. First, how do we get here? In the UK, voters for UKIP, the UK Independence Party, grew in number over the last few elections. Now, because the United Kingdom uses a terrible first-past-the-post voting system, UKIP, rather than getting a proportional number of seats in Parliament, largely drained votes from the Conservative Party. So in the 2015 election, Conservatives promised to hold an in-or-out referendum on the EU if they won, presumably to try and sway UKIP voters to their side. The Conservatives did win in what was, by the way, the most unrepresentative election in UK history. Thanks again, First Past the Post. Click here for more details, and the promised referendum was scheduled. With huge voter turnout, Brexit won 52 to 48. So what happens next? Well, the EU has a law called Article 50 saying countries can exit. Basically, it's a press here to leave button. But the Conservative Prime Minister, who promised upon Brexit victory to press it immediately, instead resigned immediately.
Ooh. Well, that's not good. That'll probably just complicate everything. So that immediately reminded me about states leaving the United States of America. However, after the whole Civil War fiasco, states weren't able to secede. But in the United Kingdom's case, countries can in fact leave the United Kingdom due to Article 50. Okay, let's continue.
Leaving the UK politically doing nothing. There was talk of a second Brexit no, but seriously, it might actually happen if you vote for it. This one's legally binding referendum or re-electing Parliament. But then the new UK Prime Minister was appointed and she said that wouldn't happen. Presumably, the UK Parliament now needs to pass a yes, we are really pressing the Brexit button law, but they seem to be in no rush. Meanwhile, the EU wants the UK to get on with it, but the UK wants to pre-decide all the details of what an independent UK's relationship with the EU would look like, but the EU doesn't want to talk until the UK actually leaves. Not surprising, because talking before gives negotiating advantage to the UK and talking after to the EU. And since the EU can't force the UK to...
Yeah, so a lot of people were talking about how drawn out the actual Brexit was going, and everybody was saying like, oh, Great Britain's just they're just stalling, it's a political stunt, they aren't actually going to leave. And well, fast forward to now, they did in fact leave, and I think a big catalyst for it actually happening was once Boris Johnson got elected and the Conservative Party, grew a lot. So yeah, it's a very interesting time for the UK.
Press the button, there's a sort of negotiating stalemate. Finally, because there's really no procedure for anything, the only correct answer to what happens next is who knows? We are standing in a fog with naught but speculation, so speculation time. Acting as a Brexit bookie, I'm putting 15% odds on the chance of maximum Brexit occurring, where the UK is a fully independent nation with total control over her trade deals and immigration and laws. The UK is to the EU as Brazil is to the EU, just another country. If that probability seems low, what with the new pro-Brexit Prime Minister and with the required going against the will of the people and all, here's my reasoning why. Speculation the first. The Conservatives didn't want the UK to really leave the EU. Though they campaigned for the referendum, they were officially neutral on the issue, and I suspect privately against. If you think the Conservatives are the more business-friendly party, the UK leaving the EU would be bad news for many businesses that prefer larger economic blocs, like banks. Pre-2015 election, the Conservatives probably thought citizens wouldn't really vote for Brexit so they could safely gamble to sway UKIP voters, but again, surprise, 52 to 48.
Okay. So, surprise, yeah, that it actually ended up happening. So it sounds to me like the entire Brexit movement gained a whole bunch of traction that maybe politicians didn't expect, because he's saying that they didn't want the Brexit to actually happen. But I mean, there had to have been some that really did want it to happen, but maybe they thought the majority wouldn't. But then, kind of like what you said, surprise, we got the votes. So yeah, well, hey, like I said, it's a very interesting time for UK.
Even the new Prime Minister, who's all Brexit means Brexit, was against it before she got her current job. Speculation the second, some Brexiteers didn't really want to win either. The Brexit campaign admitted after winning they had zero plans what to do, which sounds a lot like we never planned to win. The leadership of UKIP resigned, an odd choice in what should be a theoretical crowning moment of glory, and after the Conservative Prime Minister resigned, the most prominent Brexiteers didn't want to take the job. Funny that. Also interesting to note, the referendum was set up to have zero legal power, something all the parties agreed on beforehand. It was essentially an opinion poll, though not at all marketed that way to voters. All this is to speculate the majority of people in power do not want Brexit to happen. To be clear, while governments could just totally ignore the vote and still be technically correct, there's no way that doesn't look horrifically undemocratic. But while Brexit was sold on the idea of a stronger independent Britain,
there's absolutely no way you can hold a vote, and then you vote to leave and then you just kind of scrap it. Yeah, like what he said, that's super undemocratic. At that point, you would basically lose the trust of the people. You know what I mean? If the vote was to leave, then you certainly, you need to go through with it. But now, a lot of people from the UK are, supporting it, and they're excited about it, and they're looking for new trade deals and whatnot. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
International markets and national economy have strongly disagreed, and the geography of the vote have indicated it might not be the whole of Britain leaving. After the vote, Scotland immediately said that if the UK leaves the EU, Scotland isn't coming. She voted to stay, so she will. If maximum Brexit occurs, I put 97% odds on Scotland leaving the UK and staying with the EU. Add to that, if Scotland leaves, I give 45% odds of Northern Ireland leaving as well, rejoining Ireland. And crazy as it sounds, if Scotland and Northern Ireland leave, I'll actually put 5% odds on London leaving England and becoming an independent city-state in the EU, which would be kind of awesome, because who doesn't love city-states? This would leave England and Wales on their own, and of course, while it's possible they do just fine, there are plenty of comparable independent nations. The international markets have already said do not want to just the UK leaving as a whole, so I wouldn't bet on it being a rosy future, and it's probably not something many Brexit voters would have picked were it on the referendum. But even ignoring the breakup of the Union, when thinking about the likelihood of maximum Brexit, on one side are the majority of people who voted for it, and on the other side are the businesses and the politicians, even I speculate many who pretend to be for it. The politics of power here is why I give such low odds to maximum Brexit, and why I give 30% odds to the second option. Literally, nothing happens. The UK government plays the stalling game forever, pretending to move forward while doing nothing. This politically tumultuous time becomes a trivia fact for a future video about how the UK has been in the process of leaving the EU for 100 years, like when countries sometimes discover they're technically still at war because there's an old declaration they forgot to annul. It's not a great outcome because governments and businesses and people don't like uncertainty, but never underestimate the human ability to procrastinate on paperwork. Even Miss Brexit means Brexit is also Miss mustn't be too hasty about actually pressing the Article 50 button. But the last option I think is the most likely, 55% odds on a non-Brexit Brexit. The European Union has many asterisks and layers to her membership. The UK could leave the European Union, slide over into the European Economic Area, and be technically correct that she's left the EU. Actually, before this whole brouhaha, the UK had arranged a deal with the EU to become more like an EEA member. That was dropped once the referendum started, but that deal is lying on a table somewhere. Just saying. This would be the most pure compromise, leaving both sides unhappy. Nothing Brexit voters actually cared about would change. Immigration, EU membership fees, and binding EU laws, all this would remain the same. The only thing different would be the UK giving up all her representatives in the EU Parliament, so she would have zero influence on EU laws she would still have to follow, which is not something pro-EU voters probably wanted.
Yeah, so at that point, if you've already went as far as to actually Brexit, then obviously you want something to come out of it, like what he mentioned, like you want to change in immigration, you want to change, maybe you want something changed in like the economic spectrum to get a better deal. There are plenty of other countries outside of the EU that have made deals with the European Union, some of them being like Canada, Norway, Switzerland. I want to say Singapore has a deal with them too. And those are working out really well for them. And a lot of people say that the UK would want some type of deal, maybe similar to one of those. But then other people are saying, well, it took a long time for those countries to get situated where they were, whether you're, whether you're Norway or Singapore or whatever. It took a long time, like, to work out all the kinks and politics to get a pretty comfortable deal. It's not something you can just snap your fingers and the UK is like, okay, we have a deal like them. It's like, no, because every country is different, and there's so many factors to consider. Anyway, let's continue.
Either. But nonetheless, I give the greatest odds of this happening because nothing would change for businesses, making them happy, and for politicians, it's a face-saving maneuver to have listened to the people and to leave while doing neither and possibly avoiding the breakup of the United Kingdom. Who wants to be Prime Minister during that? In conclusion, none of these outcomes are clean wins. The first is very probably the end of the United Kingdom and goes against what seems to be economic self-interest, but maybe not, who knows? And the other two go against, the idea of democracy. The UK stands at a path that splits into many futures. Maybe the EU burns herself to the ground due to all her problems and Wales Glen rises from the ashes, a mighty phoenix. Maybe the UK gets the worst of everything. Maybe literally nothing changes. Which leads where? Which is the best? It's impossible to know. The UK can only stand in the fog, speculate, and pick a path. Good luck, United Kingdom, whatever you choose to do.
Yep, very good video. What he mentioned, maybe this could lead to the collapse of the European Union, and that's another thing that was also mentioned by a lot of different politicians, is that if they leave and they're successful upon leaving, then other countries might want to follow suit. So, yeah. Who really knows what's going to happen? As of right now, they have officially left, but there's still that 1 year interim period to where they left, but they still haven't technically officially exited yet. There's like I said, there's that 1 year cushion to where I guess you kind of have to work out a lot of kinks before you actually officially are no longer part of the EU. Yeah. All right, so we're going straight into Brexit briefly revisited by CGP Grey, and this one came out March 10th of 2019, so a little over a year ago. So yeah, I'm pretty eager to hear his update on the entire situation. So let's go.
Hey, what's going on with Brexit? Well, there sure has been a lot of political squabbling here at ground level. Let's float away from all that for a look at the big picture. Up here, it's easier to see the 1, 2, 3 of the impossible trinity. But first, quick British Isles primer. The United Kingdom contains England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. This last part of the United Kingdom shares the island of Ireland with the country of Ireland. This Ireland is in the European Union, and the United Kingdom is, well, that's the whole thing, isn't it? Before UK voted to Brexit, the European Union wall encircled them all. The wall isn't literal, it's a metaphor for the overlapping circles of EU institutions and border complications impossible to draw, so it's a metaphor wall. Maximum Brexit is the exit, where UK leaves to build her own wall separate from the EU and be like any other country. This maximum Brexit is the top of the trinity, with a wall around the UK, which, following the border, would go straight across the Irish island. Oh no. The books on Ireland, Northern Ireland's, and the UK's long and complicated and sometimes frightening relationship are not tomes to be opened here. The much shorter and safer version is there used to be a wall between the islands, but there was a lot of the violence and a lot of the troubles until on a very Good Friday, Ireland and the UK agreed there would never be a wall between them again. Full stop. This, while it didn't uncomplicate the relationship, at least made it non-violent. A new wall plowing between them would break this vital political promise.
Okay, wow. And I was just I had just reacted to a video about Ireland and geography now, and mentioned they touched up a little bit on the whole troubles in the splitting and all that. Oh man, but this would bring up the entire border discussion all over again. That was probably a big issue within the whole troubles thing. Oh man, that is such a sticky situation. Holy shit. Let's see what he has to say about it.
UK and Ireland and even EU all agree. A wall here is super no bueno. No wall across Ireland is the second vertex of the impossible trinity. Wait, why do we need a wall anyway? Oh right, the maximum Brexit creates a land border with the EU because UK is an island unto herself, mostly, but not completely. So if UK says this is unacceptable and all agree this is unacceptable, then the wall could go here, maybe? Compromise. But then UK tries to march out of the EU, but not everybody makes it. Northern Ireland stays in the EU, sort of, on the other side of the wall, while still being part of the UK, while the EU whispers into her ear that were she to let go and unite with Ireland, that's cool with the EU, Ain't no thing, girl. Poor Northern Ireland. She's on Ireland, but mostly thinks of herself as British, but also Irish, but could end up being the last part of the UK in the EU, while also having the right to leave the UK and join Ireland if she ever votes to. For UK, this situation means a wall inside the United Kingdom. No nation wants to create an external wall through internal territory. Thus, the final vertex of the Trinity. No walls inside the UK. Leaving Northern Ireland behind while staying connected to her also means some of those overlapping EU institutions can pass through the wall.
Maybe you can put a non-serious imaginary border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland and say it's a border, but you can, like, but nothing will change. Like, things can still be operating the way it is now, but then it's like, well, that defeats the purpose. It's not really a border then. God, that's such a complicated mess. My God. Oh, okay, let's continue.
Making Britain's Brexit rather less than maximum. And political geography being what it is, that's it for options. This, or this. All of which the UK refuses. But you wanted the wall in a different place. That was like your whole thing. None of these are acceptable. Thus, the impossible trinity where the UK must pick a side. Promising no walls means no maximum Brexit. Promising maximum Brexit means there's gotta be a wall somewhere. And so for a long time, nothing of consequence happened. Can you pick now? What if I put the wall here, but only temporarily? That doesn't solve anything. That just kicks the Northern Ireland down the road until we're right back where we started. So that's what's been going on with Brexit. There's nothing as permanent as a temporary solution. And ultimately, there's no avoiding the Trinity. There's three things. Pick two.
Oh, man. Oh. Or is that it?
You can go now.
Oh. What does that mean? Okay, that might be hinting to the next video. Okay. That is quite the complication with Northern Ireland. So, I will admit I haven't been 100% keeping up with Brexit. I don't know if maybe there was something that's been implemented since they actually left. Yeah, I probably should have at least gotten current with the situation before reacting to these, but oh well. Alright, so I think this is CGP Grey's last video on Brexit, and it's called the EU's secret Brexit negotiation exposed. This came out on the same date as the Brexit Revisited video, so let's take a look at this one.
Hello. I stumbled upon the EU's secret negotiation plan in the form of this slide presented by the chief EU negotiator at the European Council. This slide is amazing, and I want to talk to you about it. So, since the Brexit breakup, the EU and the UK have been trying unsuccessfully to broker a deal, and this slide makes it painfully clear why that has made such little progress.
Okay. This is what I was talking about. They're trying to look at other countries that have deals with the EU but aren't officially in the Union. So yeah, look, see, they've got Norway. They've got, is that Iceland, I think? And yeah, there's Switzerland, and South Korea's got a deal with them too. And from the looks of this chart, it looks like they're looking for a deal similar to South Korea or Canada. Let's see what he's got to say about it.
Such a long time. It started with Brexit, where the UK voted to leave the European Union. Now, what that means isn't exactly clear, because the EU has a core center, but it also has many orbits of relationships. So the EU and the UK needed to figure out where they were as a couple. And the UK has a list of deal breakers that, at least at time of recording, are non-negotiable. And that's fine. Everyone has relationship deal breakers. It would be unhealthy not to. Anyway, core no more. The EU's next closest relationships are with Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein as part of the European Economic Area. This is a kind of EU light. They're part of the unified EU economy with the EU's 4 freedoms: free movement of goods, free movement of services, free movement of capital, and free movement of people. So as an Irish citizen, since Ireland is core EU, I could go live in a cabin in Norway, even though they're not core EU because of the free movement of people, and vice versa. Now for the UK, free movement of people is a huge deal. Shut it down, deal breaker. This
Okay.
makes an EEA-style relationship just impossible. So the next relationship orbital out is Switzerland, who has a unique relationship with the EU. She's not EU core, she's also not in the EEA, and she is completely landlocked by EU core members. I mean, except for Liechtenstein. So, perhaps inevitably, despite not being part of the EU in any way, she has over 100 bilateral treaties with the EU integrating their economies, which means that Switzerland has given up complete regulatory autonomy on goods and services to...
Okay, think about that. They have 100 different agreements with the European Union. 100 different agreements, but they're not in the European Union, but you know, they have all these workaround deals. See, and that's what I was alluding to when I mentioned that, you know, even though these countries, they're not in the union, but they have like a very close relationship. You know, it took a while to get there. You know, it took a while to get to that point. And you know, since the UK left, you know, they have like just 1 year to try to make something, you know, happen. And a bunch of people are saying that's nowhere near enough time. But then I hear some people from the UK saying like, oh, it'd be better if like we just kind of do the basic international trade rules. Like we'll be fine with that. So yeah, let's continue.
to facilitate trade. This is also a deal breaker. Switzerland's treaties grant freedom of movement, deal breaker, and Switzerland makes significant financial contributions to the EU. Deal breaker. These two things are also part of the EEA. So while Switzerland isn't an EU member in fact, she is basically in practice, but also like the EEA members, lacks representation in the parliament of EU core. So Switzerland's relationship with the EU is also not one that the UK wants to emulate. This now moves us to the outermost orbitals, and we get into the really deep asterisks of European Union foreign relationships. This is stuff like the European Eastern Partnership and the Deep and Comprehensive Trade Agreement, which sounds like political dirty talk, or the European Neighborhood Policy. A lot of the aims of these things is to bring neighbors more in line with Europe, either with what the EU politely calls the promotion of human rights or trade integration. But both of these bring up the final deal breakers for the UK. Taking Ukraine as an example, while not remotely an EU member or even close, she has agreed to let the European Court of Justice have some jurisdictional power in her borders. This is required by the EU for Ukrainian participation in Interpol, a kind of FBI for the EU that works on cross-border crime. Nonetheless, European Court of Justice jurisdiction does mean giving up some sovereignty on some issues, and that's a deal breaker. Or take Turkey, who can participate in trade negotiations under the aegis of the EU, presumably to benefit from the trading power a large bloc has, but this means Turkey doesn't have complete independence in matters of trade policy. Deal breaker. And so now we've passed the outermost orbital where a relationship even means anything, and so end up in an inevitable no deal, with the EU and UK's relationship being just regular countries to each other in the World Trade Organization, membership of which is basically every country on Earth. So the progress from EU core out to no deal is what this slide is showing. Why the EU thinks that path is the only path. But the UK has been saying very loudly she wants a deal, while also saying Brexit means Brexit. She wants independence, but also wants a relationship that's deeper and more comprehensive with the EU than just the cold WTO rules. But for the EU, it's impossible to see how to satisfy those desires contradictory without triggering the UK safe word. Which is probably why this EU negotiation strategy slide wasn't a secret, but was published back in December of 2017 by the lead negotiator in front of the heads of state, because this isn't a secret strategy. It's a clear illustration of the mechanistic result of all of the UK's deal breakers. I really do think this is a pretty amazing infographic in terms of clarity for a horrifically complicated topic, which is why I just had to make this footnote to share it with you, because I could not bear to let it fade away into my notes as just part of the background reading. Anyway, that is why the Brexit timeline has been so long with so little happening. The UK has mutually exclusive wants.
Okay, I get that it has, conditions, but is he not going to ever mention South Korea and Canada? I'm like super curious as to why they're down there, and it's pointing with a green check mark like we want what the relationship that these countries have. So like what the heck?
as also discussed in the main video in a different area. And it's really all down to the UK. She could stick with the deal breakers and go it alone, or she can drop some and settle in an orbital relationship with the EU. But she can't have both. I guess we'll see what happens soon.
No.
Maybe.
Well, what the heck? He didn't... Like, what the heck? I was, like, waiting for him to talk about South Korea and Canada because I figured one of those two countries or both had a deal that the UK wanted. So yeah, like I said, I only had some, like, pretty basic knowledge about Brexit. Like, I knew the whole freedom of movement was something that the UK, you know, wasn't a fan of. I also knew there was a bunch of economic reasons as to why they wanted to leave. There was some things I didn't know, like the whole... the special team that the EU has where they send people to other countries to, you know, solve some crimes or whatever. Yeah. Pretty interesting. Yep, so these were very informative videos. It's actually inspired me to get more up to date with what's going on with Brexit now. I'm sure there's plenty of things that I'm out of the loop of and that I've missed out on. But yeah, I'll make sure to look into them. If you enjoyed this video, guys, please don't forget to like, subscribe, show some love in the comments below. Do all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, guys.